Okay, I guess we'll get started. It's January 9th, 2025, 6 p.m. This is the meeting of the Wolfeboro Budget Committee at the Wolfeboro Public Library. And if Tom, if you could join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, do we have any public comments before we get started? Seeing none, we'll move on. Jim, if we can address the revisit list.
Sure. Where would you like to start, Mr. Chairman?
Let's start off with the police department.
Police Department?
Oh, sure.
On the bright side, you may get out of here. Where we going?
Can you just bring an extra chair, please?
Okay.
Good evening, all.
Hi, Chief.
How are you? How you doing?
Before you start, I just want to recognize a couple of commissioners. Steve Wood. Oh, Kevin Duffy back there too. There he is. Yeah, okay.
All three of them.
Thanks for coming, gentlemen.
Got a hat trick.
Okay, Chief, we're just, one of the things I said to the town manager, we're trying to tone down the budget, and I appreciate you, the $125,000 that you gave back to the town people. Is there any, do you have any positions filled right now that you're going to fill in January? Just thinking if we could cut out a little bit more.
No, I think we're prepared to give back January.
Okay.
And that total is, that number? $30,047.37.
Which comes out of two lines, the salary and the
Do you want that number again?
Chief?
30,047.
$47. So 30047.37.
37.
No, 37.
No 37?
No.
Come on.
But where's the taxes? If you said it's 2 line
And what line?
It's from salary and retirement.
taxes, what you got?
Can you make that notation?
Yep.
Casey? Thank you. And I want to thank you, Chief, and also the commissioners. I know you've done a great job on this year's budget. Okay. What else?
Do we need a motion on this?
Yeah, please, if you do a motion, Bob, for that amount.
I'll make a motion.
So move. Second. Whatever you want.
What do you say?
What was that number again, Casey?
$30,047. 30047.
And you have the line items, the lines.
I'll get them, yes. Yep. Yep. Today.
Okay, so the motion is to, did you get the lines?
Oh, you need the lines?
Yeah.
I haven't opened my thing yet. 4210-113 and 4210-230.
114
114.
and 140.
Okay, any further discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 230.
Seeing none, the motion is to reduce lines 42100113 and 42101114 by amount of $30,047. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Did we get that wrong? I thought Catherine said 114 and 230, is that correct?
Correct.
That's correct.
All right, so those are the two lines?
That's correct.
Yes, stand corrected, 114 and 230. Okay, all those in favor of reducing line 114 and 230 in the police budget by $30,047, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Okay. Motion carries. else you got?
On the revisit list, Police Department outside services, vehicle maintenance, review amount expended at year end, and revisit justification of funding request.
Okay. What can you offer us on that, Chief?
I'm gonna ask the captain to address the money part.
So the end of year total for line 381, outside service, that came to $6,173.61 for the total. And we are asking for next year, for 25, it was 9,500.
Okay.
But wasn't there 3,000 encumbered also?
Yeah, that's in the vehicle maintenance. So that was the total of outside services.
Okay, any questions about outside services, vehicle maintenance?
Just one clarification.
Yes, sir.
So your actuals are at 6,000 and change? And
Yes.
you've got another 3,000 encumbered, so you're up to 9.
No, that's the separate line. That's the
Separate
other
line.
line.
That's vehicle maintenance.
Thank you.
Anything
So,
else?
wait, John,
Yes, sir.
I see in 2023, 11,731 was expended. So I wonder the wisdom of trying to pick away at this line.
Yeah, my only thing I can say, I know I said it last time, is the age of the fleet. We just don't know what we're gonna get for the
Yeah.
warrant article.
That
That's
is
what-
good, right?
Yeah. So we're kinda in the middle of that 11.
It's all downhill.
Yeah. Now I can go to the 430 if you wanna talk about that real quick.
Sure, that's fine, thank you.
Yeah, so the 430 vehicle maintenance, so we're at the end of the year, 10,167.28. And in 25, we're looking at 12,500. So we're almost there. Again, 23, we did 11,664. This one was a little bit more that we added. But again, that fleet is, I mean, if we get that warrant article, I mean, we get 2 new cars, 2 of the old ones go away, but if it doesn't pass like last year, we gotta get these things through another year. And the mileage is up there. So the 2 that we were trying to get away is, mileage was 150 and 138.
The difference between 381 and 430, 430 is in-house, our folks doing the work.
Vehicle maintenance is, 430 is in-house, car garage,
Right,
and 381 is
outside service.
the outside
Right.
services.
Thank you.
You're asking for what this year on line?
For 430,
Yeah.
12.5.
5-year average, if anybody's interested, was 11,488.
I think we should leave it alone.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I agree.
John,
Yes, sir.
question. So if the warrant article does not pass and you don't get 2 new vehicles, you'll be fine with the vehicle maintenance lines, keep those vehicles running for that price?
I think we're gonna be, I hate to use the word fine, like saying it's quiet out, but it's worst case scenario certainly. If the cars are passed at town meeting, those cars aren't available the day after. It's gonna take us a while to get the cars, to outfit the cars. So we're still gonna be relying on those 2 cruisers for at least half the year.
Keep them going.
I'd love to give some money back at the end of the year and then, in that case, but, yeah, I couldn't. In fact, one of the cars that we're talking about is currently at the town garage waiting for a water pump, so.
And with the number of officers you have driving now, how many of the vehicles, of the 10 vehicles, are you using on a given day?
So we only have 9. We
9
went down
officers.
from 11 to 9 vehicles in operation.
And 9 officers?
Right now,
We have 9
we have 9 officers.
We have 2 conditional offers out, just so you know. We're doing backgrounds on them, and we have several in the queue, so I don't want to jinx myself.
So it sounds like it would work.
Chief, you guys have looked at the contract for the,
We were involved in the
You're involved.
negotiations.
think it's a fair and reasonable contract for everybody?
I support the contract.
Thank you. What else goes with police department, Casey? Anything?
I think you already did it down below. Police department provide unused amount if any officers have not been hired during these month of January, so any adjustments could be considered by the budget committee.
You've done that, okay?
So you did that one, and I think that is it.
We've done the warrant article to purchase the cameras, the police cameras,
Yep, we did the police cameras and
the cruisers.
the cruisers. We didn't do the contract because that was just signed off by the Board of Selectmen last night.
Okay.
It is in the package that you have somewhere in your hands.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to revisit it now or visit it now or later.
And we did put the cameras back to 15 from 16, and we mentioned that.
I'm sorry?
We had 16 on the original, we put it to 15.
Okay. Yeah, so you can get up to 50,000, right?
Up to 50,000.
50,000, okay.
Yeah. It looks like it changed a little due to the fact of 16 to 15, so I think it's about 23, 24.
Okay.
in the ballpark.
Let's do the warrant article for the contract real quick.
So, last night, the Board of Selectmen ratified the contract with the police union. When we went into negotiations, there were a couple of goals. Originally, we had a goal of a 1-year contract, a 2-year contract, and as well, we wanted to bring up the starting wage and keep much of the language as is. We were able to get to agreement last week for a actual 3-year contract. It brings the starting wage up to a very competitive level with a number of communities that we surveyed. The 3-year contract is 5% a year over the 3-year period. So year 1 wages is $40,086, benefits $11,857 for a total of $51,943. Year 2 wages $44,881, benefits $13,229 for a total of $59,180. And year 3 is $51,783 in wages, $15,353 in benefits for a total of $67,136. The board last night voted in favor of this by a margin of 4-0. We were missing one Board of Selectmen member, however, that member was involved with the negotiations and is very supportive of where we're at. We are working on finalizing the language right now, but we're in basically in complete agreement, and the numbers are ratified.
So for each year, will it be around 2 cents per thousand? Is that a fair statement, or?
Say that
As
again?
far as what it would cost the taxpayer, it's about 2 cents per thousand?
Correct.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Is this, when you say current staffing levels, that means the 14 officers?
That is,
Or is the
Four-
number that you have now?
it's the 14 officers and 5 dispatch positions, correct? 5 dispatch.
Well, 14 officers aren't.
6 dispatch.
So there's
12 and
5 dispatchers because
all of me.
Right.
Yep.
and there's 12. Yeah, there's probably 10 union members.
So it is dispatch and PD.
It represents all the employees.
the current employees or the number that, the 14 officers?
The full 14,
The full 14, okay.
plus the
Plus the dispatch.
dispatchers. And we, just truth in advertising, we did remove the dispatch supervisor out as a negotiated term. And that was something that the chief wanted because it really is a management position based on what the job is
Okay.
doing.
And so the number would be less with 9 officers. Right.
Well, the total is
Per
less, but
employee.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think we're contemplating this, these
It's
won't come
14.
into effect until April 1, or that time frame, and I think these guys are hopeful that they're gonna be fully staffed, or pretty close to fully staffed at that point.
And then if the contract does pass, you have to hire them at the new matrix if the matrix passes.
Okay.
Jim, what's that bring a patrolman starting?
So it brings a starting patrolman to 2915 for starting.
And what would they max out at? You have that? Or-
I do, it's gonna take me a minute to get to it, John.
one quick question, Casey, maybe you can answer this.
Mhm.
The 2 cents per 1,000 assessed valuation, that's based on the 14 officers.
It's based on, yes.
Okay, so that, so the, if I take this 51,943 for 2025, and multiply it times 14, what about, how do I get to the gross number that creates this 2 cents per thousand?
That has nothing to do with the number of employees. So for every $25,000 that you spend, it increases your tax bill by 1 cent. That's what the 2 cents represents.
Okay, I understand.
So 51,943 is approximately 2% for every 1,000 that your home is assessed at.
I think some wording needs to get into that warrant article for the taxpayers, because they're not going to understand this. They really aren't.
Jim, can I clarify the numbers?
Yeah,
I don't.
I keep hearing 14, and I want to clarify this because I don't believe that's accurate.
Okay,
It's 17 union positions, and
okay.
that would be 12 sworn positions that are union, obviously the captain and I
Sure.
are, as well as 5 of the communications folks.
I keep forgetting, I'm sorry.
So it's 17 total.
My apologies. I keep forgetting them, and I don't mean to.
I'll pass that on.
So, Mr. Chairman, for a patrol officer, the starting wage was previously $24.18. We dropped the first 5 steps, and the new starting wage for patrol officer in 2025 is $29.15. It's a 12-step plan, and they would max out as a patrolman at 42.56.
Is that after 12 years, or how long is that?
That's a 12-step plan.
Okay.
Just, could I get a clarification then? So there are 12 officer positions in the CPU, in the Blackwood County. And so the contract covers 12 sworn officers. And currently there are how many are you down? 5.
There's 5 in the dispatch also.
And there's 5 in the dispatch, but
It's part
the
of the
sworn
same.
officers, there's 12 positions.
There's 12 total at present. We have 2 contracts out for background. We have 3 more positions to cover. All those positions will be union positions. So when they're hired, they will go on that matrix. We're hoping and expecting us to complete that complement this year. I would like to see it by April. I'm hopeful of that. We have several in the queue to come in after. There's 2 that I've offered contracts to, or I should say, that we've started the process with backgrounds.
And then you want 3 more.
And then we'll do more interviews on the 21st of this month for 3 more people.
Well, any more questions on the police union contract?
No.
No. Okay, Casey, what else we got?
Nothing for police, I don't
Okay.
believe.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate the adjustments you made to your budget.
Thank you.
Still waiting for anybody to come by for a tour. The heat does work on the inside.
But don't come by on Monday, isn't there a lot going on?
Oh, if you come by Monday, you can help carry stuff. Thank you again.
Which day do you have to be seen?
When you bring them.
I'll be there tomorrow.
Jimmy, where would you like to go now, Casey?
So the next 3 things on your revisit list are warrant articles. Do you want to go there?
Yep.
Okay, so the next one is warrant article municipal reval, add RSA language.
So we, this week, did receive a letter from New Hampshire DRA wanting to schedule an appointment to meet with us regarding 2025 reevaluation and where we're at in moving forward with that. We did look at the RSA language. The RSA language, because of the way it's written, it's very, very complicated because it paints multiple scenarios to get to your reevaluation. I think we put it in the backup in the presentation. I think it's a bad idea, as did legal, to put it into the warrant, but we can have a further conversation.
We're on the warrant article?
This reevaluation. What's everybody think? Does this kind of explain it a little bit better to the voter, you think?
I don't see,
Is there kind of a summary?
It's up the top of the
Page
page.
4, page 4.
Okay, thanks.
Is there a summary of all the warrant articles? Is that your question?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
That's a question.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm wondering if there is a way of boiling down the complicated RSA to make it a little more explanatory to the public. It can be incorporated into this evaluation. In other words, what I'm saying is if it fails, this is what's going to happen, kind of thing, so that the public knows that if this goes down, it's going to happen anyway, somehow.
There's ramifications.
Yeah, there are ramifications that are going to cause this to happen anyway. So I don't know how that gets into this warrant article, but I think the public needs to know that if they vote it down, that doesn't mean that reevaluation is going to go away. I don't know, and I don't know how we word it. To your point, Bob, that's,
Well,
I know you're.
This is one of my favorites.
No, I know it is.
Hyphen fees,
But I'm-
evaluation, stuff like that.
But I do think we need to, as a budget committee, make sure that that warrant article presents the ramifications in a fairly concise way to the voters, so that they know it isn't going to go away if they vote it down.
Thank you, Bob. That's what I've been saying for 5 years now, and there's no question about it.
I don't know how we do it.
The last time it was done as a warrant article, the warrant contained a guarantee that the funding for the warrant article would be taken out of the undesignated fund balance, and apparently we can't do that now because we had a warrant article that said we can't do that. We had a petition warrant article. So, well, what I think you can do is say in conversation when we speak about this is that you're going to draw down the tax rate by 230,000 for the purpose of making the warrant article cost-free. So this way, you don't have it in the language of the warrant article, but you show your intent that you're going to use the undesignated fund balance to buy down that warrant article, even though you're saying tax rate. I understand, not when I saw the default budget today, I kind of understood why you wanted to keep it out of the budget, because apparently the default is compounding. I've never been involved with a default budget, so I learned that today. But I'm still stuck on that thing. Is, you know, to see if the town will vote, the voters will vote for this, is giving people a choice. It's tradition with warrant articles. Either you say yes or you say no. If you say yes, it happens. If you say no, it doesn't. But how do you phrase a warrant article? Or, you know, it's going against the principle of warrant articles. You say no, you vote the warrant article down, and then the town turns around and says, well, we're going to do it anyway. You're going to get a lot of...
Well, it won't be the town, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, but the people will say, but you knew this. You knew this was going to happen.
And we will explain that in the backup at the deliberative session, in the Board of Selectmen's presentation.
Well, like, that's
Do you
my...
want some wording in here that says it's mandated by the state?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I hear saying, is if we do a sentence and this is being mandated by the state of New Hampshire. That's what the RSA does.
But if it's voted down by state law, you're not allowed to scrounge for money anywhere else to pay for it, and then you're forcing the state to do it. If you put it in the budget, yeah, it comes out of the budget in a default budget. However, you do have that surplus fund that you can use. You know, Board of Selectmen can use it as a contingency fund.
We can apply it to the tax rate the following year. We can't just reach in and say, oh, that doesn't happen. I'm going to take that unassigned fund balance. We can't do that by state statute.
One of the sections says this, regardless of any other sections, the select board of the town can do that. That's the way I'm reading the RSA.
I don't believe that that's the case unless we've gotten some other opinion from town attorney. That's not what my understanding.
No, my understanding was that if this thing goes down, this warrant article, it does not pass, DRA will simply come in, they will make us do it, and then they're going to make that adjustment on the unassigned fund balance when our tax bills are created. So they're going to make that happen regardless of whether or not the Board of Selectmen come to the Budget Committee and ask to be able to tap into the fund balance. I think that's a bad mechanism. There's already a mechanism in place with New Hampshire DRA. If this thing fails, they're just going to subtract it off the bottom line of our fund balance. But I meet with legal tomorrow on this, so I can ask them a little more questions about tying in some more robust language about the requirement.
Tom, Jim, do you suspect that if the state takes over, that it's going to cost more?
No, I do not.
So either way, doesn't make a difference.
Well,
So if it fails, and it does go to the state, I mean, if we're gonna get penalized for it, to Tom's question, if we're gonna get penalized, it's gonna cost us more, then obviously we would wanna say that somehow in the language. If it's not, and they vote it down, it really doesn't make a difference. As I understand that.
Sure. Go ahead, Mark. Jim, that's not the way I heard it from Steve Buckley, the New Hampshire Municipal Association. Because Steve says the DRA is going to have to petition the Board of Land and Tax Appeals for the permission to do this, and they will conduct the hearings. They will invite the select board, and the town attorney will get involved with this, and the town attorney's meter starts running. So Steve Buckley told me it's definitely going to cost us more.
Well, then that should be in the phraseology somehow. It says if you don't pass it now, the state will come over and potentially could have a higher figure.
I I'm not quite sure we can do that, because that's
Well, I don't know
almost
if you
like,
can either. I'm
it's
just
almost
asking
like
questions.
threatening, you better do
Yeah.
this or else.
Yeah.
I mean, that,
Well,
you know.
no, all you're doing is you're just letting them know that if.
No, you're
you
kind of
know, you can-
biasing.
You're free to vote, but if it's voted down, the consequences could be greater, potentially. And that way you're not saying one way or the other.
Well, Bob Lomas said it best this evening, so.
Sorry?
You said it best this evening, thank you. So, I mean, it bugs me.
You know, the other thing is that you can appeal an assessment done by somebody we hire. I'm not sure what the state appeal process would be for somebody who wants to appeal their assessment.
Right, there you go. And you don't know you don't know that our assessor is going to be hired. We don't know where the assessor is going to be. And the assessor might tell people who want to argue their assessed value.
Who they're gonna appeal
The guy
to.
might say, well, I'm in Concord, so come on down.
Right.
You know, instead of our office here in Town Hall. So, I mean, this thing is a,
Well, I think that this is part of where the confusion is happening, because if DRA tells us to do it, we're still going to use the same assessor. It's not going to be somebody from Concord coming up and doing the assessing.
not the way I read it. The way I read it is the DRA picks the assessor. And it could be our assessor. But you know, what I'm telling you what I read, and obviously the DRA might veer off course a little bit and do it that way. You know, I'm just going by what I'm reading here, so.
Yeah, I mean, we already have a contractor teed up for going on over a year now to do the project. I'm pretty sure that if DRA comes in, okay, you have somebody teed up to do the project. There's no bandwidth in the state for assessors to be able to do it. Sign the contract, we're going to use the unassigned fund balance and tack you on that when you set your tax rate. So again, I'll have more conversation with legal tomorrow on it.
Thank you.
Try to robust the language a little bit for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure of the wisdom of getting too threatening in the wording of the warrant article. You saw what happened with Libby Museum last year, where it was kind of threatened that the outside funding would go away if it doesn't pass. I think this warrant article should be worded to emphasize the fact that it is required, that it's been a long time since we've had a revaluation, and that it's the right thing to do. It's out of fairness for all taxpayers. As far as the consequences of not passing it, I think we gotta let those chips fall where they might.
I like that.
John, just one further comment along the lines of what you're saying. It seems to me the way this is written, and the real key in this whole thing, as far as the voters are concerned, if we talk about threatening, is where we say to meet our constitutional and statutory requirement. That phrase right there tells you that this is going to happen. If you vote it down, you're going against our constitutional and statutory requirements. I guess that says what it says. It's going to happen anyway.
John, can I ask a question, which is, if it's voted down, can the selectmen then go to DRA and request the DRA order us to do it and let us use our own person that we've already keyed up?
I think that
That seems-
frankly, it would be a gentlemanly conversation to get it across the
it
finish
seems the
line.
pragmatic solution. We have to do it rather than them. I could see if the board said, oh, we're refusing to do it, we're going to fight you on this, that then they're going to come in and just use their own person to do it. But if we're cooperating and in fact saying, hey, we want to do it, it got voted down, order us to do it and we'll do it. This is who we'll use. Wouldn't they be reasonable?
I think they would.
Yeah.
I mean, DRA is very difficult to deal with on a daily basis, but they want this to get done, for the taxpayers of Wolfeboro, and they don't want to get involved in it any more than they have to.
Jim, I'm assuming CRA was good with the language.
This is actually their model language.
Yeah. I would vote yes on this.
But we have not put them forward as a unit for this year.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think this is about as close as it's going to get. It's a conundrum. Whatever that means.
Okay, anything else on
Situation.
municipal revaluation? Okay, let's move on.
One second.
The
Next one is warrant article, ambulance service non-binding referendum. BOS consider striking, which in 2025 is budgeted at $777,000. I think at the end of the words on this, it said we will no longer contract with the privately operated ambulance service, which in 2025 is budgeted. So we took out the amount.
Which I think Brian, Bob Mulholland suggested.
Yeah, one of you two asked to remove that, right? Your point was something like, well, if we can do it for 770,000, people might go for it that way.
Oh, well, so you've already done it.
Yeah, the board has made some changes based on your recommendations, so the 777,000 has been removed.
John?
Yes, sir.
The chairman of the ad hoc ambulance committee, Dr. Ray Kowalski, is here if you have any questions.
Hey, where's the doctor? You want to come up here?
Doc?
So Doc was kind enough to volunteer to be on the committee, and well, after he volunteered to be on the committee, he landed the chairmanship of it, and he worked very well with the committee to get this thing. Him and his team gave a very good presentation to the Board of Selectmen when the board endorsed this project, and he can answer any questions that you will have about this.
And I didn't see Fire Chief Zadi, so I'm sorry. I didn't announce him.
What do we got for questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Since we're talking about all these expenses going down through this referendum, I don't understand why the 777,000 is a hot button. I don't understand that.
It was one of your team members suggested.
I understand that. I'm asking the question.
I think it complicates it. I think it makes it look like that was cheaper. And so, take it out. It's not, I don't think it's necessary anyway. It might not be real anyway. Well, it's correct. Yeah.
No, it's real.
No, that one is
Well, it is this
contract.
year, but it's
Yes,
this year.
it is in there, and it says 2025.
Correct.
It was a real figure.
Right.
But your point was, that looked like a better deal.
Yeah.
So Jim, what happens if the referendum fails?
It's non-binding, so, I mean, you know, I think if it does not, if it's marginal, I think the Board of Selectmen need to have conversations with the committee to determine if this is the way we want to go. If this thing fails miserably, I think it gives the Board of Selectmen a direction, and myself and the department to be able to say, voters really aren't supportive of this concept, and maybe we need to revisit this. This is a huge, huge decision in front of us. And if it comes overwhelmingly, then it gives us the direction to be able to continue moving forward with the path that's laid out here, put together by the committee. And the path, which is, at the end of it, gets you pretty much the same, whether it was the one that the chief and I put together, whether it's one the ad hoc committee put together, or whether it's the one MRI is finishing right now.
John,
Yes, sir.
two questions. So the path can be changed and improved in the future?
It could be, yes,
And will this get rid of the Kelly days?
no.
Okay.
On the next one, the fire-based ambulance service. That doesn't say, what year is that going to? Is that this year or 2027, or what's that going to be?
Yes, those are funds for this year to hire a deputy fire chief effective April 1, 2025, 3 firefighters on July 1, 2025, and, if we are able to get the equipped ambulance, we will get that as soon as we possibly can, depending on what we find for equipment.
So if that article passes, the referendum doesn't for some reason, it's almost like we're putting the ambulance service in anyway.
You'd be raising and appropriating. So if the referendum fails and then the fire-based service passes, we are raising $816,000. The board can decide not to do it, but
No, I just,
the voters said raise the money, so we'd have to raise the money.
And we would be equipped with one ambulance.
Yeah.
all right.
Okay, that's a full ambulance.
So maybe I'm just posing questions. If the referendum were 50-50 or it failed by 5 percentage points, but the ambulance service amount, the 816, passes, we'd have one ambulance already, though. I mean, you could almost see how that works. And then, I don't know. I mean, because that might happen.
It's a possibility.
Because when people are looking at the cost and so on, and then they're looking at the tax bills and so on and so forth. Anyway, so just asking the question how that would work.
But I think we wanted to be transparent. Had we only just done the 1 year,
Yeah.
then,
The transparency thing is excellent,
and that
no
was
question.
what everybody thought was a great idea.
That's kind of why the ambulance committee wanted to do this.
Mhm.
So we wanted to be transparent because we wanted everybody to know that there are expenses in 2026 and 2027 that nobody knows about unless we explain them. That's what this is about.
And we did look to create a single warrant article. We couldn't commit those future year monies under a single warrant article, similar to we can with a union contract. So there's specific RSA for the union contract. We can't do that with this type of article. Which would have been nice if we could have.
And this is the order they'd appear in?
Yes, this, as you see them right now, is the order that they will be in the, on the warrant.
Bob, you have a question?
So, yeah, and the other thing I want to bring up, and I had a conversation with the chief tonight, he did do a grant for an ambulance, so there's no guarantees, obviously. It wouldn't happen until somewhere between May and September. That's when they'd find out if they got it. There's no guarantees, but he did apply for a grant. I think it's important to get that out too, because the voters understand we are trying to, and the chief and the selectmen are trying to make sure, and the town manager, that they get every grant that's out there for them to get this. It's kind of like seed money. There's also wording both in the MRI and in the ad hoc committee's report of going after any grants that are out there. Me and the chief talked about that tonight. The grant that seems to be out there that they can do is a safer grant. So I believe at some point that will be applied for. Again, there's no guarantees, but I think it's important to get that out there and let the voters understand that there is money out there that maybe we can get.
Do you think this might be, those kind of things might want to be incorporated in this referendum?
And I think
I
anything like that, it's transparency.
I think we should do that, I really do, because if there's a possibility there, none of these numbers are etched in concrete going out, okay? We've always mentioned in a lot of warrant articles where there is grant money available. We have mentioned the fact that there is grant money available. We've never quantified it, but we have said in a number of warrant articles on construction and whatever, that there is grant money available, and I think that needs to go into this non-binding referendum.
So it is in the fire-based ambulance service warrant? Authorize the Board of Selectmen to apply for, obtain, and accept federal, state, and other aid, grant, and donations.
Okay.
What
Yeah,
happens-
I guess that's
So what would happen,
double dipping.
what would happen if the referendum passes, but the fire-based ambulance service one fails?
We have no money.
I'm looking at this and saying, I'm gonna spend 0 as opposed to 33 cents per thousand. I'm gonna spend 0 and get 3 years. I mean, if I was not
Zero-
really
zero, we
thinking,
get
if I was
nothing.
just tired of reading them and came in, and I didn't know what I was looking at.
Well, that's why, number one, it's the second, third warrants, I think. It's up there, up front.
People aren't tired by the time they get
That's
through.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, you
That's
know,
exactly why.
I'd really rather spend nothing and get 3 years of service.
And I think the doc here with his team, they're gonna be out beating the doors, hitting some different clubs and groups to promote this project.
Do we need the estimated tax impact for 2025 because it's on the other warrant article? I'm pulling from what you're saying. If we just left that out, because we're not, that's not expending any money, do we have to have that wording? Because you go to the next page, and there is the impact.
I would think that's a good idea. If it's just a referendum, why are you
Just take this out.
Just
saying
take
the
it out,
impact?
yeah.
There is no
Good
impact.
catch.
It's a referendum.
Yep.
So it's not really a 0 tax impact, it's just referendum. Very good,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Chief?
If I may, I just, to take off on what Jim said, the committee, the department, we're prepared to move forward with, we've lined up some ideas in terms of groups to speak to and some public presentations we can do and so forth. And I wanted just to clarify, the reason we've done very little of that to this point is we want to make sure that the wording is cast in stone. I have a deep-seated fear that we start doing some public education and then there's some changes to the wording in the articles and then it just makes it confusing, and we know what happens when people get confused, they just vote no. So our intent is that once we've settled presumably on the wording going forward and the way it'll appear on the warrant, you'll start to hear and see us around at Rotary Club meetings and Chamber of Commerce meetings, and anytime we get 3 people in a room, we'll have us, we'll be probably talking to them.
John.
Yes, sir.
I requested that the committee, several members of the committee, speak to this issue at our public hearing on the 14th, and I asked that several chairs and microphones be set up for them. They prepared I think 5 slides. It's going to take several minutes. It's going to be a little shorter than the presentation they made to the select board, and well, I'm looking forward to that. So I just wanted to let you guys know that they'll be speaking about this at our public hearing.
Thank you, Bob. Any questions?
Yeah, and has that been approved? I know you wrote a letter to John, but are we going to do that?
Yeah.
We are?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know we were.
Jim, can we put just like 2025 there or something, for the April 1st, for the year, when we do that, when it's going to start? So the next group of hires will be in 2026?
25.
No, the next group after you hire these people, when's the next group?
July of 26.
Yeah.
July 26th, okay. That gives us time to apply for any grants or anything else that's available, okay? Okay, any other questions on any of the ambulance stuff? Non-binding and the fire-based ambulance service itself. Chief, do you have anything else you want to contribute, or Doc?
Not really, I think we pretty well covered it. Our intent on Tuesday would be then We've got the presentation that the committee made to the selectmen, which we would intend to use in support of the non-binding referendum article. And I put together 5 or 6 slides just explaining the dollars and cents in the second warrant article. And we certainly talked to Dr. Stolarski. He's going to be available, and some other members are hoping to attend. And we're certainly happy to entertain any questions that the board has or any members of the public who happen to be there.
Because at the same time, with the presentation that we're going to develop, is that we're going to put it out to the various organizations in town to keep them aware of what we're trying to do, due to the fact that we have this 2-year on-ramp, and a number of towns have gone through difficulties where private ambulance service or the hospitals that ran the service have walked away from it either through bankruptcy, or they just decided that this isn't the route they want to go any longer, and it puts those towns into a crisis situation. We are looking to avert any type of crisis by having this 2-year on-ramp, so that as we gear up, Stewart's gears down, and it also gives us the time to do the recruitment as well as to get in the necessary materials we need along with the squads. And in fact, during that time, the chief is also applying for the various grants that are out there. Again, there's no guarantees on any of this as far as the grants, but we're looking for that to augment this and help the taxpayers in the long run with this, so that we aren't back into a corner at any time during this implementation that we have with this.
I have a couple of questions. First, Stewart's, are they in 2 years going out of business? Not that it matters, I'm just asking just a general question. Question number 2 is, when we change from a private carrier to the fire department, are people's perceptions going to be that because it's part of the fire department, it's a free ride? And third question is, if it's not a free ride, is there anywhere in the literature that the public can read to know if you get a ride in an ambulance, it's going to cost you or your insurance X dollars?
You can't really stipulate X dollars, but there will be a defined billing service that will handle this.
I know, but that's sorry. The defined billing service, I've dealt with it before with another ambulance thing, and they have, the two don't talk to each other. And so all they care about is getting their money. So it doesn't do, in my opinion, in my observation personally, it doesn't do a great job for the people of the town to do it that way. I'd rather be more transparent and say, if your insurance isn't going to cover that or something else like that, it's going to, a bill is such and such. And to get an idea that maybe they can take themselves to the hospital, or by all means pick up the phone and dial 911 and get a ride. I'm just asking questions because my personal experience with getting getting an ambulance ride through a billing service is atrocious.
So I would say that that's one of the reasons why we want to onboard the deputy fire chief so soon, because one of their jobs is going to be writing and creating those billing policies for this organization, which will go to the Board of Selectmen for approval. So we are as transparent as we possibly can as to how the billing will take place, how write-offs happen, those types of items. But there will be very transparent billing, which hopefully once we get it up and running, it will be placed on the webpage for everybody to see. But that is one of the primary goals of that deputy chief onboarding.
Because the perception is going to be that it's a free ride because
Correct.
it's part of that. And people, the public needs to know there's a cost because I'm a taxpayer, it's part of the fire department now, it should be my free ride. And that's the wrong thing. It doesn't happen.
You are absolutely right. It is not a free ride. But I think it does give us, the town and the Board of Selectmen, latitude, and I hate to use the term, but, you know, for people who cannot actually afford the ride, it's easier for the tax base to be able to absorb that than the private billing
I think
agencies.
the move is a smart move.
Going
I'm just
after 'em.
saying about, let's not have the public perception be.
Correct.
That's all.
I'm on the same page with you.
The other thing is the MRI report gives about 6 examples of what other towns are charging. So they've actually allocated, I think, 2 of them to be similar to what we would charge. in the
Yeah, and
MRI
those
report.
2 had hospitals within their community, that's why they were facing
Okay.
similar call volume.
If I may, John? Yes, sir. Since Stewart's bills through insurance companies, be they private insurance companies or Medicare, there are set rates of reimbursement for ambulance services. They don't change whether you're municipal or whether you're a private insurance company. They don't change. So when we say setting the rate,
All you're saying is just-
you can set the rates at whatever you want to, but Medicare and the insurance, and the private insurance companies are gonna pay or reimburse based on their reimbursement schedule. So whether we're public or private makes absolutely no difference from the
But
way.
the difference between what they're paying and what the service is coming after you for is the difference between what they pay and what they don't pay. That's all I'm saying. So in other words, if you've got a $15,000 ride and your insurance, Medicare, whatever it is, pays for 5,000, you're on the hook for 10.
No,
Who's on the hook?
no,
No.
No?
no, we cannot do that.
Absolutely
Okay.
not.
Okay.
There's a number of things, if I may, there's a number of
What
things
happens is
going
the
on.
$10,000 gets written off
Mhm.
as the difference between the amount you charged and the amount you got reimbursed. I know how this works.
Okay, hey,
I've done this. I've done building services before.
okay.
So if we charge $1 million for the ride, makes no difference. Because the customer is only going to pay the difference between what they reimbursed, what their copay is or whatever,
Right.
left over, the Medicare schedule. That's it.
This is the same type of billing that in my office, when I charge a patient, say $300, and Medicare agrees to pay $180 of that. I can't go after that patient for the other 120.
Chief?
The concept that Steve is addressing is called balanced billing. I just want to point out, there's a number of reforms going on at the state level, John maybe is familiar with anybody, that essentially would prohibit balanced billing. The trade-off would be they legislate an increase in the rates to some degree. I don't know that it'd be 1-for-1, but I think to carry on with what Jim said, the intent would be to write a set of policies that we would bring to the Board of Selectmen to be discussed and adopted in public session, to be as transparent as we can with what those rates would be, what the collection rate normally would be, and how aggressive or not aggressive we would want to be on any lack of payment, I guess, for back of the
And I guess not to beat a dead horse, but I think to Jim's point, I think it's a good idea just to say, because it's now based in the fire department, it's not a free ride. There is a cost.
There is
Whether
part
it's
of
a
that.
service cost or whatever it is, but a lot of people will perceptually think that.
That is part of our presentation, to
Yeah.
talk about
Good.
this.
Okay, we all set there on the ambulance stuff? Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Doc.
Yeah, thank you, Doc, for volunteering and chairing the committee. Okay, what do we got next? Just on the purchase of the police body cameras, I believe it's required by the application you apply that it has to be through the selectmen, so that should be.
Yeah, but the words were a little chunky before, and we changed it around a little bit. So it says second sentence was wrong, so now it says authorize the Board of Selectmen to apply for, obtain, and accept federal and state, blah, blah, blah. So before it said something like, the Board of Selectmen apply for, which they really don't. So the next one is warrant article, Libby Museum Restoration, wordsmith, run-on sentence, Brian Deshays to forward recommendation language to KC.
I did amend that, I don't know if it's what you're looking for or not.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.
I think it's close to the end, right?
Yep.
So the current warrant article says, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $350,000 for the purpose of engineering and stabilizing repairs to the museum building and to secure cost estimates for further building renovations and repairs. This appropriation is non-lapsing pursuant to RSA 32.7 and shall lapse on December 31st, 2026, or on completion of the project, whichever occurs first. The town manager did wordsmith this, so does anybody have any issues, concerns, or recommended changes?
You sense that 350 is going to do the job and get it done?
It's going to stabilize the building, I believe. It's going to give us an idea of what we're going to have to do to restore the building to a point of being able to reoccupy it. So my hopes are, once this gets put onto the warrant, we actually issue an RFP for the engineering to get somebody in so we can get an idea, so that when we're into the July, August timeframe, we've got an idea what these costs are going to be to fix the building. The report we received from H.L. Turner, just received it the other day. It paints some pictures of some critical repairs that need to be done immediately, but we need to get more estimates on doing the work. And I think this gives us the tools we need to be able to come forward with a full restoration of the building.
That non-binding referendum for the ambulance service, would it be a good idea to have a non-binding referendum about the levy and find out, are people in favor of restoring the levy? And we've already got some kind of cost between $750,000 and $1.5 million, roughly, in the past. How about just a referendum?
I wouldn't say that at all.
Feel the pulse of whether people want to do it.
I don't think we have a good idea on what the cost could be.
So it might be a good idea after we spend this $350,000.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to vote against this. I think a lot of people are going to vote against it because of all that's gone on before.
The one problem we have is that we are trustees of the museum, and we have a fiduciary obligation to maintain
I've heard that argument before. The state can't make you do, spend taxpayers.
When you're a fiduciary, you don't spend your own money, you spend the trust's money to do that job. You don't spend your own money.
Well, we took it.
That's the difference.
There is no trust money.
Correct.
So you're asking the taxpayers to spend their money to fulfill your fiduciary.
And why? Because the taxpayers were the ones
Who
that,
said they wanted to be the trustees?
who wanted us
In
to be the trustees.
1955.
Correct.
But, so we have it.
1956? Okay. So
We
whoever
have-
voted for that, back then, it's still alive.
And we asked them whether we could give it back to them, and they told us no.
Yeah.
So, we have to, we already got them in there and asked that question. Can we just give it back to you? Yes, if you can find other trustees who will take
You know,
it.
the state has a process that, when a charity can no longer function and they're about to go out of business and they're bankrupt,
Yep.
the state sends someone in, takes it over, gives them money to fix it, whatever needs to be done, puts in a new board,
But we're not
and
bankrupt.
then,
Okay,
Okay.
we're not going to go
Well-
into what the state can do and all this other stuff. Let's talk
We're
about,
not bankrupt.
Brian and I
We're not a
offered you
charity.
$250,000 to take over the whole thing.
could I ask a question? Okay, my question, I kind of have two questions. So just to be clear, the 350 is needed to sort of do some engineering and stabilize the building to keep it from falling down, but it won't allow the building to be reopened and occupied. Instead, the rest of the balance, whatever is left, is going to be spent, and then to do a further study to see what's needed to reopen and renovate and whatever needs to be done.
No,
Is that correct?
it says in this the third part is to do the engineering and stabilizing, like you said, but then it also says to secure cost estimates for further building renovations and repairs.
To see what would need to be done. And so you'll pay to have another study done to see what's needed to fix the building.
Sure. So what we know right now is the back of the building, the columns are sawdust, holding the building up, period. So the takeaway on that is we need to have somebody come in and figure out, okay, how do we stabilize this back wall so that the building is secure and there's no fear of collapse. We have to do that. We're working on that now. From that point, we need to get some contractors in here, look at the report, look at the building, and say, what do you see being the path forward to correct this building? And be able to paint some numbers for us. And they're probably going to say, well, we need some further engineering done. And that engineering, the question becomes, do we look at the engineering from modern construction practices? Or do we look at the engineering from a perspective of historical restoration? And I think that's part of the problem is we have to look at this from the perspective of a historical restoration because it's registered on the historical registry and it also just received 7 to save through the state. So we've got a lot of legwork to do to get to a concrete number to fix everything that's ailing that 100-plus-year-old building.
And so once the $350 is spent, we'll have a stable building that can't be used, but also an estimate on what it's going to take to then make the building restored to standards applicable to a...
That is the goal, correct?
But now there's also $300 in an account for the Libby.
Yes.
Why can't that money be used for this purpose?
Because I'm not sure if it's enough to do all of it. Honestly. Those back columns, there's nothing there.
And so, it just, I mean, it seems to me there's kind of a conflict in terms of doing the fiduciary duty to the trust, but also the fiduciary duty to the taxpayers. Because we're opening up, this really isn't getting anywhere. It's just keeping it from falling down, and then there's more money in the future that's going to be needed to do anything.
To keep it from falling down year after year.
And we've done this so many times and done so many studies.
On and on and on.
It just never ends. Okay.
This is a black hole into which we pour money.
And now we
That Libby Museum's been neglected for years. It's never received enough funding to keep it going or to do the repairs. It's all put on the back burner. Now we've got to stop paying to keep it going. Okay, anything else on that one? Okay, what's next?
Yearly, somebody can talk, so.
My only comment on this warrant article is, I guess, whoever's going to be presenting it and speak in support of it is hopefully will be able to explain or answer the question of this 350. What is it? Is there a set amount that's going to be for physical work to the building and a set amount for engineering or studying, or is it just kind of all up in the air?
Good question, Brian. And the report that we just got this week, I haven't had a chance to dive into it. It was forwarded to the Board of Selectmen today, and we just haven't had an opportunity to dive into that report. I know it lays out some priority repairs that need to be done to stabilize the building. We should be able to get a contractor to say what that's going to cost us pretty quickly, but it's just a matter of getting there over the next couple of weeks.
It's kind of ambiguous or vague as to what was that 350
Fair.
We'll deliver that message to Paul. Next one, yearly total for each series of each budget going back 20 years for the general fund if possible. I believe Leanne passed out a one-sheet document to you today that was just for the general fund. It says series on it.
7 years, right?
7 years. We found that we only went back 7 years because we weren't quite sure of the data that was older than that, that's in the system. It's my understanding that some of the older management didn't really use the same software. So. But it gets us going from all of the series general fund from 2017 is 12.8 million to 2023 is 16.475 million, which is a 3.63% increase or 4% year over year for 7 years. There is a 32-page document of all the detail that makes up these numbers. I recommended to Leanne that she doesn't print it, but I believe she sent it out electronically to anybody who wants it. We would print it, but I didn't want to print it if you didn't want it.
Yeah, I was the one that requested it, and the last page is really all I was interested in.
Great.
I didn't want the whole thing, 36 pages. So thanks.
You're welcome. Am I moving on?
Yep.
Okay. The next two things, Steve.
Well, do we have anything for Barry?
I do not believe.
Do you guys have any questions for Barry, I guess?
The electric department, there's none on the revisit list. He does have 2 warrant articles that you didn't seem to have any issues, concerns about.
No questions, just praise.
I just got one question. Barry, how many non-union part-time employees did you get a raise this past year?
3.
Our part-timers did not get a raise.
How many? 3. He said how many people? 3, right?
No, you want to know how many got a raise?
How many part-time people?
How many didn't?
Yeah, didn't.
3. Yeah,
Are those meter readers or?
permanent part-time, 2 meter readers, and our staking technician.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Barry? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on.
Thank you.
The next 2 items weren't really revisit items, but Leanne put them on the list. Town road upgrades, she wanted a list of 2025 projects. And Public Works vehicle and equipment replacement capital reserve fund list of 10-year replacement plan.
Thank you, Barry.
I believe that she handed those documents out from the Public Works Director.
Okay. You got a new dump truck?
We got one, we took delivery, I think, in September.
Well, the first time I saw it on the road was the other day. It looked good.
Yep, yeah, it was, maybe it was the end of September, John. Yeah, I ordered it, right after the vote. Takes a bit.
Okay, and you've provided us the roads that you want to take care of for next year out of that 900,000.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Public Works?
No.
Steve, that Union Street project, does that include that manhole cover there going into Carpenter?
So, we are gonna go just past the second, well, if you come from South Main, we're gonna go just past the second driveway where the hot top changes, is part of this. That manhole cover, and all the ones down on Laner Street, we patched them, they all need to be cut out and redone.
Is that in the?
That's not in, that's in more of, that's in the maintenance plan, not in the capital.
Okay. Thank you.
It's a favorite, I know the bus drivers love that.
Oh, that's great.
It's your fault that it's all messed up in the first place, that's okay.
Coming out of the school budget then.
Exactly, that's the way you think.
Steve, as a general question, how's the project going through town? Is that going to be wrapped up before next fall or?
Yes, so they have a
end date. All that is left, as far as services go, is there's only a handful of services that need to be taken from the curb with the new lines into the buildings. Hydrants are in, it's up and live, and then all the surface needs to be redone. All the hot top needs to be taken out, redone. The sidewalks need to be fixed, the curbing needs to be reset. All of the superficial stuff that you see in walk-on needs to be redone.
Now,
But
is that
that'll
all
all be
included
done.
in the project?
Yes.
It's all in-
So that was always designed to be temp pavement for winter. And that's as far as I'm gonna take this
Yeah.
at the moment. And then in the spring, it will be redone.
Okay, thank you. Well,
I thought the other half was gonna be torn up next
So
year.
the sewer main project
Right.
is a whole different animal, and we've pushed that another year.
Oh, okay.
So between permitting and some of the other issues we've come across, and just trying to get it financed, permitted, planned, and implemented in such a short period of time, I pushed that a year. So we'll be talking about that this time next year.
okay, thank you. Any other questions for Public
Steve,
Works?
you want to just mention where you're at with the budget on that water line project?
So right now, I'm working on the balance in excess, but we're somewhere in the 400 to maybe 450,000 under budget.
Very good.
So
Good job.
that's looking really, in real good shape.
Wow, good.
Anything else?
Oh, sir.
Thanks for coming, Steve, appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you guys for the hard work for yourself, you guys do. Keeping the roads good.
You're not on this list.
No questions on the vehicle?
Yeah, the vehicle report that you wanted.
I got it.
Yeah.
Reason for that?
What's that?
The vehicle report that's supporting his reserve.
You just asked for it, so he gave it to you. He created it, I think, last year or the year before.
I was all ready to go.
Go!
Kind of like take the wind out of my sails.
It's a lightning round.
That's the same way you've been going for the past few years and everything? so
Yep.
No
Yep.
change, yeah.
No,
Thank you.
Savings.
Okay.
I also thought it was gonna go longer, that's why I was chewing. Excuse me. So we're gonna go to this sheet next.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And I think it backs up, the town manager wrote some answers to questions asked by your chairman. So I'm going to start with the top section. There's proposed changes as recommended by the Public Works Director and the new Pop Whalen Operations Manager. They took a hard look. We were tasked at coming up with ice rinks rates, so they took a hard look at the budget, and then they had some personnel change around. And you can see the notes off to the right-hand side, but the Parks and Rec Director is willing to take a decrease in the Pop Whalen budget by $22,234.
Casey, can you just wait a minute?
Hold on, Casey.
Yep.
Please. Take mine. And this is what she's talking about.
Yeah, afterwards.
Good night.
Thank you.
And it's going to be backed up by this, and then that. Yeah, you got that?
Yeah. Okay, so where do we need to do a motion to do a reduction?
Well, if you want to just say from the handout, proposed changes as recommended by the Parks and Rec Director on the memo dated 1/9/25 in the amount of $22,234. She had some new employee, so insurance change, some salary changed. She looked at some of her maintenance parts, something about the logo ice painting, scissor lift rentals. Having a fresh perspective from the new operating manager, I think, changed some of the budget.
I don't know where to begin on a motion.
Yeah.
She just
So
said it.
Well, I'll
Yeah, what
just,
she said.
I'll say it for you.
She just said
A
it.
motion to make reductions for the proposed changes as recommended by the Parks and Rec Director on the memo dated 1/9/25 for $22,234.
I'll make that motion.
Well, Okay, any further comments? No questions?
Call the vote, Mr. Chair.
Okay, all in favor of reduction of $22,234 in Parks and Rec, Park Whalen?
Pop Whaling,
Pop
yes,
Whaling.
sorry.
Please,
Parks and Rec Director made them all Pop Whaling.
recommendation made by the Parks and Rec Director in reference to the Park Whalen budget. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
The next document, we're still going to stay with that summary sheet, but Chairman, I think you sent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 questions to the town manager. He answered your questions on this document, and based on that document, we came up with the second motion on this page. Did you want to go through each one separately?
Yeah, I'd like to address question 1 first.
Okay. Could you please provide a breakdown of the line 113 supervisory salaries under town manager? I am trying to determine why that line is so high, since the engineer position is no longer being pursued. You want to do it?
Sure. So the engineer's position is still being pursued. We had an opportunity with knowing that Casey is intending on retiring within the next year. We did not want to be in a position where we had to train a finance director on the fly, so we were able to advertise, go through a number of interviews with different candidates, and I think we've hired an outstanding replacement for Casey going forward, who is going to be here for a long time for the town of Wolfeboro. She's actively working with staff. She's learning the job every day. So the question of why the wage line in the town manager's budget is so high is supported in the backup pages, which is in your budget book, that outlines reassigning Casey as assistant town manager, bringing her in, utilizing town engineer funds to pay for her salary while we brought on a new finance director. The fact of the matter is, with the employment climate out there, these positions such as the town engineer and the town planner are very, very difficult to fill. So we're still looking to maintain the head count. We're advertising both for a planner, both for a town engineer, but we are in a position where in 8 to 10 months, we're not going to have to advertise for a finance director because we've got one up and running.
What's the transition date? When does Casey stop and when does she, the other person, officially take over?
The other person has officially taken over as a finance director. Casey has been reassigned as assistant town manager, and her role, she's looking at a lot of the grant administration. She's looking at a lot of the fees and schedules that we have for different operations, Pop Whalen, a whole host of fees. So she's working through a bunch of those and some other ancillary projects.
Will that position stay ongoing after she leaves at some point?
I'm not prepared to say yes or no. I think it's going to depend on the hiring climate that we're in, and I would say if we were able to attract a qualified planner, probably not. If we aren't able to capture a qualified planner, but we're able to capture an assistant town manager that can help with some of this stuff, then maybe. But the goal is to get back to having a planner and, you know, continuing to advertise for an engineer, but they're just really difficult to find any of them.
No, I just didn't want to get to the point where I appreciate the fact that there's no town planner, but the same token, if you get the town planner and the engineer, at that point in time,
do we need that extra head count? Probably not.
Right, okay. Just want to have that
And I
clear.
can retire early then.
How much is the total package for the engineer in the budget?
For the engineer, I don't have that figure.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yep.
On page 17 of the town manager's budget, the fully loaded is $188,685. That includes health insurance, retirement, all employee-related costs from 100 to 200 series.
I'd like to make the motion to remove $188,685 for the engineer position.
Second.
Discussion? All right, I'll talk.
Is that until we hire one, you mean? Or-
No, it's the position's eliminated until, I don't know what he does, what the engineer does. Everything we're doing, every job we do, we hire outside engineering. And I don't see that position being filled. It hasn't been filled for the past 8, 10 months, whenever it's been posted, and I don't see it getting filled this year. I think we've got to be very lenient and conscious of the budget. I can sell an assistant town manager. A lot of people have problems with that, but I see the value in it. But I can't support an engineer position, just not at this time. The budget's up, and we've got to be very cost effective on how we spend the money. And I think just having $188,000 sitting in the town coffers or coffins, just sitting there and waiting for someone to step up and say, hey, I want the job. It hasn't happened, and I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
If I may, Jim?
What's that?
Mr. Chairman?
No, that's a separate budget item, right? Casey's position?
That's what I think he said. Are you sure, Jim?
No, that money, that's just showing the money. We shifted 167
Okay.
across for Casey's salary.
Do we currently have money, full money for the engineer and full money for Casey?
No, we don't, because we are honestly rolling the gamble of being able to hire somebody. And I think the fact is, if we're able to hire a planner, then we're going to hold on hiring an engineer. If we're able to hire an engineer, we're probably going to hold on hiring a planner till such time that Casey retires. So I would sit here and say, if you wanted to do the difference between the 188 and the 167, I would be very comfortable with that.
And that eliminates the engineer as long as we have Casey as assistant town manager.
I wouldn't say it eliminates it, because we're going to continue to advertise for the position.
The engineer.
Yes.
Okay.
And where are you going to
with
get the money
John.
to pay him?
Huh?
Where will you find the money to pay him?
Well, as said, if I can't hire a planner, then we will hire a engineer. But I don't think we're going to fill both positions. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay. So I'll take back my motion if someone will take back their second also.
I could leave you hanging, but I won't.
Okay, good. So the difference, I guess I want to remove, Jim, if I'm hearing
Is
you
it
correctly.
2889, Jim?
I'm punching that number right now, but that sounds probably right. $20,889.
Okay, I'll make that motion to remove $20,889.
I'll still second it.
889.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Does that preclude our doing anything about the town manager position? When that, well, look at me funny all you want.
I'm not looking- I'm sorry, I don't mean to look at you funny. I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
On the town manager position as everybody else. I see us, on every single one of these warrant articles, we've got engineering fees coming out of, you know what's,
Right.
and we don't have a town manager, a town engineer. I don't understand it. Why we're paying all this money for engineering studies when if we had a town engineer, would that reduce all the stuff?
I don't think so, because you saw a lot of those town engineering still taking place when we had a town engineer. I remember very specific conversations in front of this group about the consulting fees associated with these projects. And I don't think our previous engineer actually utilized his stamp as a professional engineer for the town of Wolfeboro. He simply reviewed projects and oversaw the projects, which, yes, today we are using outside contracted services to do that, such as the sewer pump stations. You're going to see that we have a contracted service coming in and doing project oversight, which our previous engineer used to do all of that. And with that said, the Mill Street pump station, for example, that does require professional engineering oversight because of state and federal funds that are applied to it. Laner Street, no federal funds. Steve Randall and his staff can oversee that project and bring in an engineer as needed.
Okay, so I guess my question is, if we are going to hire a town engineer, what's the offset? What's the offset to that salary? What, somewhere else in the budget, a new town manager is going to soak up some outside consulting services that we're currently paying. Is that correct?
I'm going to look at every aspect of the budget and find where I can find the money to pay for this individual if we have a qualified candidate that we have to hire.
Okay.
But to his point, he has no town planner right now, he has no town engineer.
Okay.
So he hires either one of them, we still have some excess money, and might be gone in a year.
I understand.
Could be earlier, if he found two perfect people.
While I'm
I'm outta
concerned about your retiring, Casey.
Don't be
No,
concerned.
Okay, but I'm more concerned about, and I have been, as John has been over the course of these many years, the engineering fees that we're paying to outside services, and we still have and we have a town engineer position that isn't filled, but let's assume it's filled. What's the offset to that salary? I would say that we should have a reduction in all this outside engineering that we're paying for currently.
And that person would be different than Dave Ford, because Dave Ford did stamp plans, and he had multiple jobs. It wasn't just the town engineer, and this was going to be a town engineer. So I don't know what Jim had planned, but you would expect that person to be able to use some of the engineer.
I'm just trying to make the point that something has to offset that town engineer's salary, and it has to be the outside consulting engineering that's going on right now. That's my only comment. I don't know whether that is what you're hung up on, but that's what I'm hung up on.
Yeah, I've never seen, we've always engineered, high-paid people engineer. We've always done that.
Right.
I don't know if you get one engineer that's qualified to do everything, roads.
So
all
we
that
are
stuff.
trying to use a preferred engineer for all of our public works projects.
Yeah.
We think we're seeing some benefits from using that engineer, that single engineer firm, and it gives us a better, it's about building working relationships, and we have a good working relationship with them. We have, the Mill Street pump station's a perfect example. We had that engineering firm on. We let them go because they weren't doing the job for us.
Okay, any other discussion?
Nope.
Your second question, Chairman. I had
Hold on, we
spoken-
got a motion, we got to do
Oh,
that.
sorry.
And I need, like, a count.
Well, what was the motion? I thought you withdrew it.
No, they withdrew it, and then they
Just
made
the
another
difference.
motion to
20,000.
decrease it by 2889, but
This is
so it's the difference.
I'd have to get back to you on the account number.
Yeah, because they're split, the town engineer is split between the general fund, water fund, and sewer fund, so I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, do 01431101113.
Oh, one.
4,
That's general.
3, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 3?
Correct.
Okay, for 2889. Okay, so John motioned, Harold seconded, so we need it. Okay.
What's that number again?
20889.
011.
Oh, sorry. 43110-113.
3110-113.
113.
Okay, everybody all set? Okay, the motion is reduce line 43110-113 by $20,889. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Okay.
So your next question, I had spoken to Casey concerning the 3% raise for non-union part-time employees for 2024. This would include the secretaries that do the town boards, the individuals who work for power, water, and anyone else who works part-time during the entire year. As of today, I am unaware of the current status.
So with that, we did issue wage adjustments to full-time non-union staff in September. We followed that up in December with retro checks in the amount of 3.5% to the full-time non-union staff in the amount of $60,245. Parks and Rec, due to the fact that they've been understaffed, they were able to actually make wage adjustments with their part-time staff over the course of the year. We did not make adjustments to the recording secretary's wage adjustments in 2024. However, we do have it contemplated in the 2025 budget, which we'll talk about when we get to that point. Line workers for the electric department, same thing. They are under individual employment contracts. We did issue wage adjustments to the non-union full-time staff, and as Barry indicated, they were not wage adjustments done for the part-time staff within the electric department. I think he can absorb those within his operating budget. And lastly, all water department employees were issued wage adjustments in 2024.
Okay, the reason I asked that is because I always get concerned when certain people get certain things that other people don't get the same thing, whether they're part-time or full-time. And I was concerned about the people that work for the electric company and also for the people that do the minutes and also help out each individual committee. And that's why I asked for this information. And I didn't know how everyone feels about giving these people the raises just like everyone else got this past year. What was it, you say, 2,400 for the secretaries, recording secretaries?
Yeah, I estimated it based on $30,000 for recording secretaries, it'd be 2,400, and part-time employees for the electric department, 58,000. We estimated at 56,500. And I would say, John, that in the memo it discusses a wage adjustment for 2025, and those wage adjustments are essentially factored into that number.
Okay, I guess what I'm asking, is this an accurate amount to get these folks up to what everyone else got, the 4%?
Yeah, you had asked for 3.5 and then whatever they're getting this year, so it would be an 8%, 8.5% adjustment.
How do you members feel about that? Any questions to Jim to bring them up to the same? Okay, I do a motion then to, how do you want to do it, Casey, to increase it to?
Well, that's in multiple departments, so,
The bottom line is 2,400?
yeah, increase the executive budget by 2,500, 2,400.
Yeah, 2,400. Yep.
Because the secretaries are in planning, zoning, they're in all the different departments, which
Okay.
is what I will do, but if your motion could just put it in executive, I'll make sure
Okay.
I build it out.
I make a motion to put $2,400 in the executive section of the budget.
Second.
Any further discussion?
No, yes.
Yes, sir.
I think you might want to add to your motion, distributed to the proper departments.
Okay. Yes. Okay, distribute to the proper departments in order to give pay raises to the non-union recording secretaries that work for the town of Wolfeboro.
That'll work.
You got a second on that, Tom?
Second,
Okay.
yes.
Any other discussion? Thanks for the suggestion, I appreciate it, Bob. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Now, municipal electric budget, there were three, I guess I'll call them permanent part-time employees there that didn't get the raise. And it's my understanding, Jim, that $46.50 will cover them for this year and for the whole 2 years or whatever.
Correct.
Okay. I make a motion to, Casey, where are we gonna go with this money? Distribution or?
No, do the admin, because I think one of them's in the admin, and I'll do the other two. So 03-43410.
43410.
10 is electric admin.
Okay. My motion is to increase line 43410, electric admin, by $4,650 to provide part-time employees' wages and 8% increase.
Second.
Any, that was Bob? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of increasing line 43410 to provide 3 permanent part-time people a raise, $4,650, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
So that did incorporate, oh no. Okay, so number 4, your question. I see on the town website there are still several open positions within the town. We are almost halfway through January, and I would think that none of those positions will be filled by the end of the month. Can you please provide the amount of money that could be removed from the salary and benefit lines for those positions for the month of January so that adjustments could be considered by the budget committee?
So I went through the budget and the open positions, and I was able to come up with $77,444 that I believe you can remove from the budget. I would just note, under healthcare, when the budget came to you, we had already made a $150,000 reduction, which is outlined on page 37 of the general government budget. And that $150,000 reduction was due to health care, due to the anticipated challenges of being able to hire staff. So that is factored in as a reduction. But I do believe, based on going through the numbers, that we're able to reduce an extra $30,800 from that line. I would not recommend we do anything with the planning and development director position. I think we should keep those funds as is. We have a contracted service coming in at this time, and we're continuing to advertise to fill the position. I would advise you that I spoke with Allison. The youth services librarian position has been filled as of Monday, so good news there. So I wouldn't touch that. I would recommend that we could remove the wages for billing and collections associate and equipment operator position to the tune of $7,200, as those positions are not going to be filled by the end of the month. We are hopeful that we will be able to get the equipment operator on in February. I would also suggest the fact that we have a 3-year employment contract with the police department, and the fact that we're hoping to get a 3-year contract with the ASME unit, that there's no need for a wage study next year. If we have contracts, I'm not going to have to do a wage study, because by the time we do it, it's going to be outdated again. So I'd recommend we remove the $25,000 out of the town manager's budget for that. And I would also recommend that we remove the $14,400 for the town webpage. We were able to execute that contract and purchase order in the end of 2024 with some leftover funds. So that gives you a reduction of $77,442.
Okay, let's do it by piecemeal.
Well, can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Chuck? To make things easier, so this is on the second part of this piece of paper right here. I did all the changes he just talked about with the exception of the capital outlay because that's not in the budget. So you could make the same kind of blanket motion if you want, but I respect if you want to go through each one.
Anybody not comfortable by doing a blanket one? Or
Sounds good.
okay, who wants to make
The
that?
explanations on the sheets covered.
What's that?
I said the explanation on the sheets covered, so I would go with the blanket.
Okay.
I'll make the motion that we adopt that.
I'll second.
Make a motion to make the reductions by the proposed changes of the recommended by the town manager dated 1/9/25 in the amount of $63,042.
Okay, I got a different number.
Because I have to break out capital outlay.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I'll make that motion.
I'll still second it.
Oh, down here, okay. Okay, any further discussion?
That's good.
One more time on the number, please.
63,042. 63042.
Okay, the motion is to adopt the sheet that was provided that totals a removal from the budget of $63,042. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, okay. Thank you, everyone.
To support the last thing the town manager recommended, I guess it's a not recommend, to not recommend the capital outlay IT Civic Engine Engage for $14,400. Is that a proper motion?
Can't we just cancel it out? Just say remove the,
No.
let me just see where we are.
Because the board has given it to you, you kind of gotta
So just
decrease it.
decrease it from 14.4 to 0.
Correct.
Is what I would do.
Correct.
Let me just find the outlay.
Not recommend it and then decrease it from 14.4 to 0. I think it's 14.4.
$14,400 for Civic Engage Central, which was a website upgrade.
That's all right. $14,400. Who wants to make that motion?
I'll make it.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Okay. Excuse me. The motion is to reduce the capital outlay for what project, Casey?
Sorry, I got off the page. IT Civic Engage Central website upgrade. Just the website upgrade.
Engage, okay, website upgrade.
And for the record, we are doing it in we started it in 2024, that's why we're removing it.
Oh, good, excellent. Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So those two numbers get back to the 77,442 that town manager advised. This one I already think you took care of. Could you also ask the police department to provide their unused amount? So I'm going to stop there because they did that.
Yep.
Could you provide an update concerning any and all grants from the fire department has applied for concerning the purchase of an ambulance? I believe we did that.
So I would just note,
Go ahead.
they've applied for, to this point, $559,925 in grant funding for equipment. SAFER grant, which will hire hire staffing for up to 3 years. That grant opens later this spring. They will be applying for that grant as well. And based on the work that we've done over the past year and a half on this, they've made a very compelling argument for a grant award, so we're very optimistic.
Okay. Now the last one, the big question.
So, well, the big question, right, is what our funds will be available to offset taxes. Really, we won't be able to answer that question until the audit report for 2024 is in. I can tell you at the end of 2023, the audit report had an unassigned fund balance of $3,006,943. Over this past year, we did receive a grant close to $1 million, which will bolster this fund. And we'll see what happens come audit time. Of course, that could change, as we've discussed earlier about the municipal reevaluation. If that were to get voted down by the voters, the goal is to get that thing passed, and hopefully the Board of Selectmen is able to use a healthy chunk of funds to buy down the tax rate next October.
That's definitely going to be a consideration for you to try to accomplish, get the...
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Once we have the audit report done, we'll have a pretty good handle of where we're at and be able to utilize some of those funds.
The $1 million in 24, was it the police?
No, the $1 million was a result of a federal award for storm damages in 2023.
Right.
Something like that.
Right, so yeah, the Public Works Director's not happy that he doesn't get back any of those funds, but, because it crosses years and stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
The one thing I would suggest we do, John, is go back to item 3.
Okay.
The last paragraph in item 3, with the ratification of the police contract, last evening I went in front of the Board of Selectmen regarding wage adjustments for non-union staff, which would include 25 full-time employees, 12 part-time employees, 8 on-call firefighters, and we're recommending a wage adjustment of 5% to mirror what the police union is receiving in year 1. That number previously was calculated to $101,433. However, I believe based on the math that you just did with adding the recording secretary's wage adjustment in here, I think we can do a recommendation of $99,033 for a wage adjustment for non-union staff in April of 2025, should the budget pass.
Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make it.
Second from anybody?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, so this $99,033 covers all non-union people. Yourself and does that include you guys too?
But only in the general fund, is that correct?
Yeah, all general fund,
Okay.
correct.
You mentioned the 5%.
Yep.
Yet others are getting 8 then. Or
So
is
those
it
are the
missing-
people that didn't get a wage adjustment last year.
Last year, these did. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay, any more comments?
Do you want to make it all funds motion, or you want to do each
I was
fund?
going to do general funds.
Sure.
Okay. The motion is to make the general fund wage adjustment for non-union people at $99,033. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
It's
Motion carries.
37 cents, really.
And, question, John.
Yes, sir.
In practice, how, or what has the practice been in the past for the non-union adjustments, where we're looking at a 3-year contract for the union? Is that still up in the air, or you just follow suit?
So it is my practice, since I've been here to try and issue wage adjustments to non-union staff that mirrors what the union received. It's parity across the board. It reduces aggravation and compression with department heads and non-union staff. So it's my practice to try and do the same across the board for non-union staff.
Thank you.
Okay, what else, Casey, Jim, you got anything else?
Yeah, you're gonna do the water, sewer, and electric funds?
Yep.
Where's that?
I know, I gotta call it.
It's like page 5 or 6 down in this doc, they got this document, right?
Yeah.
It's like way down.
Well, we already did the electric.
No, you only, okay,
They already did the electric. So you only,
water, and water.
no,
Maybe.
they're union,
Do you have water here?
but they're union.
Why do you have them on your spreadsheet?
What are we gonna do with
No,
it?
it's in Chris Main.
Gotta wait for
That's
some-
me.
Chris Main.
Chris Main.
Chris. So the,
Okay, so it's this.
hold on, we'll get you an answer in just a second.
Thank you.
I think it's $3,359.
Correct.
So if you'd like to entertain a motion to increase the water fund for non-union raises at 5% within the amount of $3,359.
3,000.
3359.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Bob. In a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, the
No, you're right.
motion is to increase the water fund non-union raises by $3,369. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
You include-
Motion carries.
No.
Again, those raises are paid by the user, correct?
Correct.
What else we got?
I think that's it.
51.
Estimated
Yep,
revenue.
we've gone through all your revisits, as far as I know, all of Jim's answers. I don't think you're done with your agenda, so don't think we're out of here, but
Are you gonna do estimated revenues in the fall budget?
I believe so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and some minutes. Are the changes that we made going to affect the default budget at all?
They didn't, the Board of Selectmen approved the default budget last night, and that will never change. The differential, so like when you look at this piece of paper here, when I'm comparing, it will change, because your budget committee number keeps changing, or
Yep.
not keeps changing, but every time it changes, it's gonna change the last column. But this column that I pointed an arrow at is what the Board of Selectmen approved last night.
33,650,000.
Okay, let's look at the, that's the first page, estimated revenues. Let's look at the revenues first.
So the revenues don't really get approved, because as you look at the warrant articles, you could have offsetting revenues. These estimates were put in front of the selectmen last night, but they didn't take any action. They didn't need to. This will keep changing again based on any motions that you made. So before tonight's activity, your budget was at $35,984,000, so that's what the revenues are. So now we'd have to adjust the taxes to make it be what you've done this evening. And if one of the grants happens to come in, then we could add it to the revenues if it came in a timely manner.
Just for general information, how close were we to our prediction for 2024 on revenues, to what we actually took in?
Well, we're not done closing the books yet, so
Right,
I
okay.
don't have that answer. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I think we're favorable for sure. But the auditors will make recommendations for different offsets or reserves, you know, for uncollected taxes or anything like that. So it's too early to tell.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on the revenues?
Yes,
Yes,
I
sir.
have one. Casey, something that caught my eye was property tax, a projected reduction of $855,919, and I was curious as to why.
So you have non-tax revenues, right, which is what we did all the estimates on. So every other line, other than line 1 and 2, or property tax and overlay, we'll put those aside for a second. All the other are non-tax related or current year tax related revenues. So if you're going to spend $36 million in a year and you know you have all those offsetting revenues that aren't from property tax, the difference that you need to collect from property tax is the plug. So that would be the number that we need to raise in order to substantiate this
Okay.
budget.
So you need to raise 855,919 less?
Yes, as of before. I mean, that number just changed for all the actions that you
Right.
took tonight.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on revenues?
I guess I'll just say that for anybody who doesn't recall, but so we put in estimated revenues at this point based on our best guess, which is, you know, I looked at January 6th, I looked at 24's revenues, and then I based our 25 on that. Come September, October, I will look at it again. I will go in front of the board and adjust any, if we get extras or, you know, we missed the target on a lot, we're able to change the revenues right before we set the tax rate. And that's the point where the selectmen can decide to use any unassigned fund balance to offset the tax rate.
And another question, this also will change with bond proceeds, won't it? So when you, if we pass these two or a couple of bond issues, then the money that we bring in from the loan,
That's
isn't
correct.
that recorded as a bond proceed?
That's correct.
So that will change this also.
Right, but those two haven't, we have to balance the budget. I mean, we don't, I know where you, we don't always get it in the same year. You know, some of them are
Okay.
reimbursables. So say you get $1.5 million and you spend, and it takes you 2 years to spend the money, we might not get the revenue in, but you do have to have both
Okay.
sides. So you are correct, but those two are not here right now
Okay,
because they haven't been pushed on from the Board of Selectmen.
right, okay. Thank you.
Pushed on might have not been the right word. I apologize.
Okay, any other questions on revenues? Okay, let's move on.
The next calculation is the default budget. Unfortunately, it was easy to do this year because it was off the default budget. So the best thing to do, in my opinion, is go to the last page, is a walkthrough, as some people like to call it. But on the ballot last year for 2024, the default budget that was approved was $33,300,799, which is the top number. The items below are broken out by general water, electric, sewer, Pop Whalen. I also sent you the NHMA presentation, which is a great tool if you want to really dig deep into this. It tells you what I need to take out and what I need to put in. You didn't have any one-time items because there was no capital outlay because you were in a default budget. Any debt service needs to be adjusted. Any workers' comp insurance, New Hampshire retirement and property liability insurance needs to be adjusted because they're mandated. And if you do eliminate positions, not reassign them like the engineer, but if you eliminate positions, you need to take them out of the budget too. So you can see that the IT coordinator was eliminated in 2024 and not asked for again in 2025. And the police officer that the police offered up, and I think they called it the 15th position, something like that. I think that is it. If you go back one more page, as I explained, this is the difference between funds. First column is the approved operating budget, again, 33.3 million. The default budget is what we just went over very quickly, and the third column will be what changes as you change your budget until it is approved. Right now, I'm calling your budget proposed because you haven't finished doing your work. The scary numbers on the bottom right of this page, there's a difference between what we need to run the business, what the work that the town has done to create this budget, and the selectmen and the town manager, between what would be the default budget is $2.3 million difference. It's going to be tough if we go into a default budget for the second year in a row.
So it's the reason why it's so high, I'm guessing, is because the baseline dropped. The baseline being the default budget.
That's correct.
Okay.
I believe I heard this word twice in here before the meeting got started. It's compounding itself, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
the increases we asked for in '24, we didn't get, and now the increases we're asking for in '25, we're not getting.
Right, okay. Yeah, that can, ooh, boy, that can be a problem.
Okay, any questions on the default budget?
Nope.
Just a general question, like, the police department gave back $125,000 for that officer. Will that be shown on the default? Is that taken, or do they automatically get that back if that goes through?
No, because they, go ahead. Oh, I thought you said. So it is on here, but it's at $90,358. So what this is the eliminated position. I don't want to use the title, but there was a position we took on that we filled, and it's been a management decision of police not to fill it again. So that is the $90,000 that's coming out.
Okay.
The $125 they took out is because they hired lower paid people in '25, so that's just $25. But what came out of '24 is the $90,358, which was the police officer that was hired for a specific task with offsetting revenue. I think that answers that question.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Nope.
I don't believe you have any action on this one.
Can we get a summary statement when all the adjustments have been, so you can actually look at them? You know, so the changes have been made today,
Yeah.
just a summary. You don't need to go, just a summary of the resulting numbers.
Yep. I got that. Ron, just get back to my sheet.
Tom, sorry.
What's next on your agenda? Wait, are you with capital?
Very well. I'm taking a cue from what Bob said. This is going to be tough. What is?
Yeah.
What are you saying? What are you thinking?
436.
The 2 million.
Well, that's,
And how do we get this across to the public if we think it's?
well, that's a lot of money to pull out. As we said, it compounds, you know. At some point, you get to the point where you have to start thinking about where you're gonna make cuts. I don't know if it's gonna be next year, the default budget. You know, these guys know much more than I do, but, you know, it's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, and one of the big ticket items is the $500,000 for the ambulance service, so it's out. If we hit default, it's out. I am not saying ambulance goes away. That's not my job. I'm telling you the funding for the $500,000 is out. So these people are going to have to make some tough decisions. Is that fair enough?
I guess my
That's a
other
good
thought
way
is
to
how do
put
we,
it,
how do we address the public so that they realize that we're not frittering money away here.
I think we do a good job at that. I think last year we had some misinformation that was put out toward voting. And once that occurred, we didn't have time to do any form of damage control. We have to get out ahead of it. That's going to be my job, Board of Selectmen's job, so that any damage control that comes in at the end, we've already disputed it. And we didn't lose the budget by a huge amount. I think it was 27 votes. So we just need to do our
deliberative
job.
sessions, we have the opportunity to
Right.
explain.
Yeah.
And I think there were some letters to the editor we are going to need to respond
Absolutely.
to right away, as many of us who can, to
Absolutely.
dispute it, because they used a number, they compared our whole budget
To Alton.
to the general budget somewhere else, so it was like,
Alton.
yeah, Alton or Meredith or someplace, it just was like, no, that's not the case, and
Uh,
that's what we gotta watch.
I'm sorry, I wasn't more active doing that, because I followed that. Another good example is, we sometimes, our tax rate gets compared to Molten Borough, but Molten Borough is assessed at $6.3 billion, 2.5 times our assessed value. That brings down the tax rate.
Yep, yep.
So, people love to throw that around. And then a couple of people, like you were saying, they threw out, what was it, 34 plus million in 24, so they said, well, you're 34 plus million, but Meredith and Guilford are 18 and 19 million dollars, when our general fund was a little less than 20 million dollars. So our taxable fund was similar to that of Meredith and Guilford, not $34 million. So what people don't understand, or what they purposely mislead people on, is the fact that they are including the cost of the enterprise funds in the taxable money. So, everybody, it comes out of all of our pockets, but it's different funds. Most towns, I would say, probably have separate water and sewer departments, and people pay their rates, and that's it. It never goes into the operating budget. So that's a big difference. However, every fund or every department that's created creates more staff. We probably have the most efficient system around, because our front office works for the enterprise funds and the general fund departments. And there you go, administrative allocation costs. That covers it. So the enterprise fund, I don't like, maybe saying kickback is not a good phrase, but the enterprise fund pays money towards the operation of their billing and things like that by the people downstairs. I'm not in town hall, so by people downstairs. So, but, so that's something I'm sorry I didn't go after. I saw it and I just let it go. I won't do that this year.
The other thing is, if I understand this correctly, the electric department revenues, aren't they a direct offset to the budget?
Yes, all the funds, water, their revenues and their expenses are the same, electric, they have to be self-sufficient budgeted. I mean, whether they are in actual, but I think that was the big thing too, is we were compared to communities who didn't have electric, and electric's $11 million. So we look like we're, inflating our budget, but if you can't compare somebody who has all the funds we do.
Right. The enterprise funds in '24 came to about 14.5 mil. So, and that was added to our taxable amount. And people interpreted that to mean that 14.5 mil we're paying taxes on, and nothing could be further from the truth. It's very, very unfortunate that it happens that way, but sometimes people like to raise Cain and do stuff like that.
I think Jim does a good presentation too. saying all the things that we wouldn't, that would be out of the budget. For example, the ambulance service would be out of the budget.
Yeah, 'cause that's-
It would be out of the budget, but we would find a way to fund an ambulance.
But
Other things it would be a painful year.
I really think that in the long run, we're going to have a transition that's costly. We spoke, you spoke about the ambulance transition, but I think in the long run, it will be more efficient when we're running our ambulance service through the fire department. We got a number from Stewart's Ambulance that for them to continue going the way they are, 2 ambulances, 2 people in each ambulance, their operational number would come to about $1.4 million. That's now. That's not in 2027, it's now. So I feel comfortable that we are going to come in at least even or possibly less than what the privates. And it seems like every week we're reading about a private that drops out.
Yeah.
There might have been, the last 12 months, there might have been 4 or 5 of them maybe. So, and the commissioner of insurance for the state, Betancourt, he basically said, good advice is to have a backstop, and your backstop is your taxable ambulance services. That they don't go bankrupt. An ambulance service that is private can call you one day and say, we're closing our doors, have a nice life. And a fire department run ambulance service won't do that.
John, one further thing on this.
Yes, sir.
I think one of the terms that we had in the meeting yesterday with our guys was cost parity. And I think that's what we're really looking at. We're going to be at least at cost parity. And what I mean by that is, we're currently paying, let's say, $800,000 round numbers for Stewart's to do its thing, which is over and above what the normal fire department budget is. Now we're going to add some $1.4 million to the bucket. And at some point, you say, well, okay, what's the revenue going to do to offset that 1.4? So it's not going to make it a break even. What it's going to make it is cost parity, at least cost parity, where we would be covering the funds that we would expend into a private ambulance service. The net of the whole thing is we're going to come out even, at the very least.
And we're going to have a more reliable service.
But the advantage to that is we don't have the concern about going out of business.
Exactly. We have controlled financial security going forward.
Exactly is what
we have. We know after
really
4 or 5 years, we're going to know exactly what it's going to cost us going down the road. 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years.
Exactly.
Steve, we talked revenues many times. We really did. We feel, I forget, Brian, what was the number that of people that turned down the transportation? It was some high, it's probably more than 50% of the calls they did.
Yes.
And I feel that a lot of people will do their best to find their own way to the hospital because the word's around town that they know what it's going to cost.
But we also need to educate them because if they're on Medicare, it's going to be covered by Medicare, not out of their pocket.
Yeah, I know of a person broke a leg up on Middleton Road, shipped to Huggins, might be a 3-mile run, and the bill was $5,000, and Medicare paid $500. It's crazy. My house is, my driveway is 3/10 of a mile from the emergency room entrance. And when I had my heart attack, they hooked me up and they got the paddles ready to go, the whole, so it makes you feel so good. But, so, and when they were, then they got, I was like saying, dude, the hospital's right there, how about, let's go. And $1,000, 3/10 of a mile, $1,000.
I drove myself.
Yeah, well, I really,
When I had
I really wasn't in the
I just drove myself.
Mr. Chairman, have we covered anything else?
All right.
I think that Steve asked for a summary. Could I give that, can I give it someone?
Yeah, just by electronic, yeah.
Yeah, just a number,
Oh, yeah, sorry.
or 2 or 3 numbers.
Oh.
So the
Hang on.
general fund cuts that this committee has made with the support of some department heads is $300,104. For all funds, it's a cut of $267,895. In capital outlay, you've cut $160,900 for total cuts of $28,795. Currently, the budget before us is $35,943,677.
Can you do the last two numbers? I'm sorry, 428.
Sure. 428,795 is total cuts,
Yeah,
including capital outlay, and the budget as proposed right now is $35,943,677.
thank you.
You are welcome.
Okay.
Good work. Yeah, yeah. That might do me.
So my closing comment is this, is that every year we go up, I look at the default, and I look at the budget, and I don't think of us here, I don't think of the people around the lake, I think of the poor schleps who work in a grocery store or work wherever, and are making $10 to $20 an hour. There's no affordable housing in this town, and the taxes go up every single year. So to your point, Bob, can we get cuts at some point? I hope we can bring that increase from 8% or 7% this year, next year back down to like 2, 3, 4%. I know inflation took a hit, I know all that stuff. I'm just thinking those guys at the bottom of the rung are fighting to stay alive. It's a good thing we have the people that come in and get money from the budget committee from the town of Wolfeboro to support Meals on Wheels and so on and so forth. Because those guys, they don't have automatic pay raises. They don't get automatic whatever that we so cavalierly approve. That's just me. Just one guy in the wind.
And yet we still have one of the lowest tax rates in the state.
I'm not arguing that, Bob. I'm just saying, dollars and cents, a lot of guys get hit hard. Give me back my pen.
And it's only 1/5 of the bill, right? The municipality
Right.
is only 1/5 of the bill.
Well, I pay more for water, sewer, and electric than I do my town taxes.
On the taxes,
You
is
sit down for a
it
minute.
school, is it
Steve,
school?
sit down for a minute for a
No,
second.
we're not done.
We're on minutes.
We have a couple issues.
Behave.
We've got
Behave,
we've got the public hearing on schedule
So-
for the
Tuesday.
15th.
No, we've got a couple issues here. So there's 3 warrant articles that the committee still has to review. 2 of the warrant articles are going to the, for a public hearing at the Board of Selectmen because they're being, bond
Bond hearing is on Wednesday.
is the 15th. And then we still have the AFSCME contract. When is that going before the Board of Selectmen?
So we have final round of negotiations tomorrow. The contract will either be ratified on Monday, or we will be at impasse on Monday.
Monday the 13th.
So I would say that I will have that information for you Monday afternoon regarding the AFSCME contract.
Okay, so as it stands right now on the schedule, we have an open date available for this room on Monday evening. However, and then our first public hearing on the budget is scheduled for Tuesday, the 14th. Wednesday is the Board of Selectmen budget public
Bond
hearing
hearing.
on the bond hearing for the 2 warrant articles. However, there are 3 total that the budget committee has not reviewed.
Same with the selectmen.
What?
The selectmen haven't done those 3 either.
As well.
Yeah, but they don't have
This-
a public hearing until the day before, on the 14th, for the budget.
Right, but we automatically have to go to the 16th, we meaning the budget committee. We don't have a choice. We have to continue our public hearing to the 16th.
Correct.
That being said, we have to figure out a time to review those 3 articles. So do we do it? I'm asking the committee, or John should be asking the committee, would you like to schedule a meeting prior to the 7 PM public hearing to review those 3, like we've done in the past? Or do you want to do it at the public hearing at 7 o'clock?
I'd rather do it before.
What are we talking, what's the numbers on those? Thousand
Mill
nine-
Street Pump Station, 900,000?
Mill Street Pump Station, 900,000, which we will not see a tax rate impact until 2027, most likely. And there's a betterment assessment that will not affect the tax rate if it's passed to lay out a road off of Wamback Road.
And they both
Christopher
are
Jason's
in,
way.
they're both in, written
Packet.
in the packet.
Okay.
Yep, they're in your
Can-
warrant
can
article
we-
packet, and then the AXME contract, if it goes through.
Can we meet before the, on the
Public hearing.
14th, I guess, before the public hearing for an hour or?
We can't meet on the 14th prior because the bond hearing hasn't gone through.
Then how can you meet on Monday?
All I was saying is that we have an open date. In my opinion, it's not worth it to meet on one warrant article. I think it's a waste for all of us to come
Yep.
out. I just didn't
Oh.
want to, full disclosure, I just wanted to let everybody know we have the open date available. But I think it's silly for us to come out to be told whether or not the ASME contract
Yeah.
went through and meet for 15 minutes. I think we should.
So 1 hour before the 16th, before the public hearing, extension on the 16th, 1 hour before that?
Yeah.
Half an hour, 45 minutes?
Yeah.
So 6:30 instead of 7.
6:30, yeah.
6:30?
Isn't the 16th an extended date for weather reasons? Isn't the 14th the real date?
The
Not anymore.
14th is the first public hearing.
Yeah.
We have no choice. We have to go to a second public hearing date because the Board of Selectmen are holding their public hearing on the bond warrant articles on 2. We cannot, the Budget Committee cannot vote on those warrant articles until the 16th. They can't vote until the Board of Selectmen take their vote
On the 15th.
So in other words, the
on the
14th
15th.
is, forget it.
Well,
No.
we're doing both.
The 14th, you're gonna do most everyone other than 3.
Yeah.
And then on Thursday, you would do the last 3.
Right.
Yeah.
But we can't cancel the
Every Monday.
14th because it's been published, it's been advertised, it's been posted. We
Is that
have
next
to hold
week?
the public hearing.
Right.
And that's most of your work anyway.
Thank you.
You'd only have 3 to do on
Yes.
Thursday.
Yes, correct.
And the committee can talk about it 3 and come up with their decision, then do the public input part,
Mhm.
right? Or public
And
hearing
vote
part.
in public. Vote on those 3 in the public session. So it will be a short.
What time is the public hearing, so everyone knows?
On the 14th, it's at 7 PM, then it will be continued, and then on the 16th, it will again be at 7.
6:30, so you have your half hour.
The public hearing, though, is at 7 PM on the 16th.
Well, we come in on
Are we-
6:30.
And is that it? Are we doing 6:30? 30 minutes prior?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think, boss?
6:30,
Leanne, thank God you're here.
so 6:30.
So can I mark up my schedule? What are we doing? 7 o'clock?
Okay, last thing, we got a couple minutes.
Yes, 7 o'clock on the 14th.
Excuse me, John, can I please get the dates straightened out in my head?
Okay.
7 o'clock on the 14th and 6 o'clock on the 16th?
7 o'clock on the 14th at the Great Hall,
Yeah.
public hearing.
6:30.
6:30. Okay.
On the 16th, what time?
6:30, we're going to have a regular meeting.
Okay.
It's going
That's
to
what
be
I
added
just need the
Yep.
times, that's
Yep.
all.
On the 16th.
on the 16th, and then public at the Great Hall.
Yep.
And then at 7 o'clock, public hearing at the Great Hall.
Right.
The 13th was an open date. That is canceled. I will send a reminder out tomorrow.
So on the 14th, it is at 7 PM at the Great
At the
Hall.
Great Hall. It's the budget public hearing.
And I will have that for you, John, sometime Monday, based on the changes that were made
So
today.
the February
And
4th,
presentation, in
then
case
March
he's gonna get that all together.
I'll have that done.
Oh, yeah. Okay, a couple things gotta finish, is the minutes, minutes of December 16th, 2024. Any changes?
No.
Okay, can we motion to approve as written?
Made.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes of December 16th, 2024, please say aye. Aye. Next minutes, December 19th, 2024, any changes?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Page 3 at the top, I think I had asked a question about establishing a capital reserve fund as a means for financing reassessment, not a warrant article.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I move we approve as amended by Member Black.
Anyone else? And we gotta get a second from,
Second.
I'll second.
okay?
One of us is second.
Excellent. Okay, the motion is to approve the December 19th, 2024 minutes with the corrections. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, so do we have any other questions?
No.
We'll see everybody on the 14th.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.